Hello there. It's September 11th, 2024. And it's obviously another year memory of 9/11 that happened September 11th, 2001. And I just want everybody to just remember that in the midst of everything that's happening in your lives, in your states, in your families, in your countries, in the world. Covers a lot of good and bad going on right now, but there's people alive today and dying from the after effects of all those toxic fumes from everything burning and crashing down and poofing the carcinogens all over the place. I'm sorry. Thank you. It all sounds so inadequate for the real weight of reality of that. And then for weeks afterwards, when we would hear stories and if you haven't heard of these stories, take a little trip through YouTube and do your research. Yeah, my hands still have a little dye in them from doing this last night. Yesterday. Uh, it's not just everybody that rallied around New York City and helped rescue, helped fight the fire, helped dig through the rubble. They came from all over our country, firefighters that work on the that travel to the places where they need extra help on fires. Um, they had medical personnel. If they came from all corners of the country, we had firefighters coming from other countries, Canada, just all kinds of people. People with dogs, search dogs from Austria, and just all over the world, the planet. People were congregating and collaborating together, joining each other at ground zero and going to work. If you're a dog handler that's looking for alive or not, but it wasn't just those stories, of which police department, besides firefighters, police departments from all over the country, all corners of this country, from Oregon, obviously New Jersey and such, but we had places, like I said, Oregon, California, Wyoming, Wisconsin, Utah, that were sending all kinds of medical personnel. I remember that day, I turned the TV on. Kids, I was in Tucson, Arizona, so it was a couple hours difference. So our kids had already gotten into school, and we'd already either gotten home if it was our day off, or it was my day off. Otherwise, I'd be at work at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. I was a corrections officer at the time, and Just gotten the kids to school. I had one child, was about 6, was born in 95. And I was in the kindergarten. And I was having some coffee. And I get a banging at the door. It was my neighbor. She had 3 kids. Young ones, too. And she asked, "Do I have the news on?" And I said, "What channel?" She said, "It doesn't matter." And I had just gotten my coffee. It had just, perked and had just taken a sip, and I was like, that answer didn't sound good. Any channel? It's like local or national. Any channel. I was like, oh shit. And she's a very, not to be mean, she's just a very simple person. And so that kind of, it wasn't something that she always said deep things or, double entendre things or anything. She wasn't that sort of person. So I turn on the TV, just whatever it was on, and I see the first tower, smoking and burning, and they had it split screen, and on the other side of the screen, they kept replaying the plane hitting that first tower, and I remember standing there with my coffee halfway to my mouth. She had a kid that wasn't in school, so she had to run back to her house, and she said she'll be over later. And so I'm standing there with the coffee cup halfway to my mouth, and they're showing different angles of the plane as people are getting them sent in and such. And then the split screen changes from showing the different angles to the second tower being hit, and even the anchors the newscasters were confused, and it was a local channel. They were confused. Well, it was just like a state channel, and they were confused because it looked. We didn't realize at first that the second tower had been hit as well, but we knew that on the other side of the split screen, you saw the one tower smoking and flames and stuff, and then the split screen stopped showing the different angles of that first tower being hit, and it was showing footage that you could see the other tower burning and as one tower was being hit. And I think those of us watching it live were we realized that the second one was hit, and I remember I was kind of having the same argument in my head that the anchors were having. They're like, wait a minute, that can't be an accident, that can't be a mistake. I mean, especially right after, within minutes, and then we started hearing about the planes being hijacked. Story. And it was around that time my neighbor came back over, and I had already gotten my car keys. I had tried to call the school while the TV was going on in the background, and I couldn't get through because, see, as parents wanted our kids home. We were trying to get them out of school, but the school day had just recently started for us, and it was chaos. So we couldn't get through on the phone. So obviously, all the parents did what I did, hopped our ass in the car and went back. And I was just down the street from the school. It wasn't even maybe a block and a half away from the school. So, and they only had one car, my neighbor, and she had three kids, one at home and two at home, and her daughter was her oldest child, and that was same age as my child, my oldest child. I only had one at the time, and so since we got in the car, and she had her three kids and their cousins, which were three more kids, and his same thing with my neighbor. Their husbands take the car to work. Usually they just meet the bus or something, or walk up to the school, walk back with them since we were so close. Car goes on, the radio in the car goes to news, and I'm trying to keep it together because I know my kids, you know, see them like that, your parent like that. So we got to the school, and like I said, we're only a block away. So, like I said, it was a half block. You cross a little street, another half block, and halfway up that was the school. And it was like everybody that had a car at that time was at the school. I managed to actually get in because I was so close to the school. I parked, and it was almost impossible to even get in the office. It was just literally packed with us, and phones going, and teachers in the back of the office trying to help. It was chaos. See, the thing is, in Tucson, Arizona, at that point, we just heard of planes at that point, and being commandeered, shall we say. And we know of two at that point while we were waiting. And when the news came that another plane was reported as not on course, that came when I was already at the office, and it was literally jam packed like a subway, literally. And it was like all of us did like a groan gasp kind of at the same time, and it got really quiet, and then we all were like, again, the noise. And see, the thing is, at that point, we didn't know if nobody knew if they were going to taking planes and just going for our landmarks, the Capitol, Pentagon sort of thing, or are they going to be doing it throughout the nation, not just in the one seaboard type of thing, where governmental things are located? I mean, in Tucson, Arizona, we have an Air Force base. There's several Air Force bases. There's White Sands in New Mexico. You've got a company called Raytheon that does engineering and manufacturing of some of the things they do are missile parts. There's a few other things that Tucson, Arizona could be a target. Let's just put it that way. And it's it's hard enough for your head not to jump to crazy shit when crazy shit is happening. But when you're a parent, it's like that crazy shit is on steroids, you know? Because now you have a child that's also being subjected to whatever is to come. And that changes you, you know? And there was so much chaos, so much chaos. And I left the TV on at home and everything when we finally see the things. I couldn't just grab my one kid because I just had one kid at the time. I couldn't just grab my one kid and go. I can get out of the office, but I was the ride home. She didn't want to walk home with her three kids and the three nieces, well, cousins. Her niece, nephew, their cousins. Because she that when she had come over, her family had called and asked if she could, when she goes to get her kids, can she get, yeah, the other three, and her husband also had the car, and that's when she was asked me, can we also get the I was like, I've got a little car, you know. It's not. I mean, it wasn't a mini car, but it was a Taurus. I mean, it was already two adults and four kids plus three more kids. What the hell? But the way I looked at it, it was only like a block away, and as long as they all sat somewhere so I could see. I mean, I really didn't think the cops were going to give a fuck about a bunch of kids in a car. They know everybody's trying to get their kids back home. Because what if something does happen? We have to have the kids near us, so if we're told to go someplace or do something. I mean, these things were going through your head while you're also trying to act where it's not as worrisome as it is, so you don't want the kids to flip out because they're young. Once I got him home, still had the TV, the news on, and we didn't stream back then or anything. It was you didn't have YouTube like it is now. You just had cable and your news channels, ABC, CBS, NBC kind of thing, and then some local channels. And I remember trying, when I got home, my coffee wasn't even half gone yet. Once I got him at home, I just said, oh, just no big deal. Everybody the school had to close, so everybody had to go home. You get a free day off. I didn't want, and the kids like 6. But you don't want to scare them, but you also need them to please listen, because you need to find things out. Got him going with whatever, and preoccupied safely. Still had the TV going. I would change channels every now and then in case somebody got a scoop first. And every time a kid came out or went through or whatever, it's like you have to hard wipe the tears away, act like you're not crying. Because you don't want them asking those questions because you don't have the answers. And when kids are young like that and the parents and they see their parents scared and their parents say, we don't know what we're supposed to do yet, that is definitely going to not only scare the kid, but it's going to leave a mark on that kid that they won't forget. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying. So, right back. Okay, so it was hard, especially when we learned what the route was for the two planes. And then the third plane, we hear about Flight 93, and they were a couple hours into it. And I remember I was on the phone. I finally got through to the Red Cross, my local Red Cross, and I was asking, I'm sure everybody's gonna need, they're gonna need blood sent out to them, to the East Coast. Um, where can I go and give blood? I mean, have you popped up anything just, to get to the masses? And while I was on the phone, she says, I don't even think we've gotten that far yet. So I had thought of it before they even got anything set up, the hotline with the places or anything put in place yet. They were in the middle of doing that. Hold on. So, uh, hate distractions. And that's when I hear like recorded conversation, and I hang up the phone, and it's when the flight that I think it was 93, yeah, that the passengers figured out what was happening when they found out. Somebody, one of the passengers found out that the Twin Towers were hit, and they had an idea what was happening. Yeah, of course you'd go for the Capitol, and yeah, you'd go for the Pentagon. Of course, those are three places you would want to hit from that. The Twin Towers would definitely be commerce, economy type of stuff. That's a business there. Banks and all kinds of things. But you've got sorry guys. But let me try to wipe this up. Hang on guys. Yeah, and when we heard that they were trying to take out the hijackers, our broke. It swelled with pride because they knew they had to do it for the greater good. They couldn't allow that to complete its mission. But some of those conversations, those messages that were left, as those kind of things were coming through, Pentagon hit, all of these things, all the stuff, all the updating on the different record, and just more bodies found, more people on stairways, more people jumping out of windows, just praying to God they make it, because it's that or burn up alive. The footage. When I finally got my kid to sleep that night, I was in my room watching the TV on the other side of the double wide trailer, and it was heartbreaking. And the thing is, see, I live in Jersey now, and I don't have family that works at the towers or anywhere near it, or anything like that. or any friends that I know of, because I was over there in Arizona, but I was panicked because you never know when your sibling or some family or friend that isn't normally there, maybe they were in there that day for something, you never know. And then I was worried, do they know anybody, have anybody in the area, and I couldn't get through. So I stopped trying until everything calmed down for, you know, later that night, and they got through to me. And it was, that's a condensed version of it because it was just really hard having the young one. And I was a single mom at that point, and I was a single mom, but my ex passed away like when our child, my oldest, um, was in second grade. So that was just a few years before he himself passed. That had happened, and yeah, it wasn't long after that I was told that he had lung cancer. But for years, literally years, like 7 years, in Arizona in the wintertime, it does early about morning. It can be cold. And for 7 years, as soon as that cold, he smoked cigarettes. He smoked marijuana too, but it was the cigarettes that, I mean, he literally was smoking well over a pack a day for like decades. And as soon as it would be, he would start coughing and coughing and coughing. As soon as cold air hit his throat, and then it got to the point where he would cough so hard, he'd throw up blood. And I kept telling him, go be looked at. I went and got a job at prison as a corrections officer, so we could get health benefits, health insurance, because he never had a job that, as long as he was with me, that gave benefits, basic benefits like health insurance and stuff like that. And I just, the guy was like 9 years older than me or something. Have a little bit of um, responsibility when you have somebody else in your life. But he didn't want to put up with the crap that you have to put up with on the jobs that are going to offer you those benefits. And even after I had the job for a couple of years, I was like, you have it now, just go. He just didn't refuse to go. So when I found out he had, I think it was small cell lung cancer, I was like, we were already separated at the time. Well, I'd already left, let's put it that way. And he, it was shortly after, right around that time, because he only made it 18 months. And it was right around this time, that shortly after. But yeah, it was tough because when your child is around, you can't be upset like that. You can't be shocked and stunned and you know astounded and speechless. You can't be so incredibly grief stricken from how many people were killed, type of thing, when there's kids around, because yeah, you can impact the kid. And I'm not, like I said, not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying you can impact the kid. So, oh, my makeup probably looks like a ghoul by now. But yes, they It was a day that, as you can see, I do not think I will ever forget. And the feelings and the pride to see just the people from this country, from my own country, America, just to see them give up any of the squabbles, the bitching that we had with each other. Of course, it wasn't near as bad as it is now. Ever since Trump, literally, since Trump got his nose stuck into the political arena, this country has become a lot less civil because that person who's seen up there in front was less civil. And so it made it okay for those who were pretending to be civil but really weren't, because now it's acceptable. And that's basically what happened. But we all pulled together. And we didn't care if you were independent, Green Party, Tea Party, frickin' Republican, Democrat. It frickin' didn't matter. Y'all got the kind of blood we need. Do you mind? No, go ahead, take a little bit. You know? Um, it's not like this dog only finds white people buried in rubble. It wasn't that kind of crap at all. Nobody had a second thought, or even half of a second thought, of that interfering or hindering with helping out. I know myself. I wasn't much, I could do where I was. Um, I know I had a website. I actually paid, and it was a lot of pages. As soon as I had that child asleep at night, that was my therapy to deal with it. I would search hours online for pictures, names, people, all the memorials across the world, across this country. Just so many things. I mean, the German car factories had a showroom floor that was all candles with as many people as were lost in it. I mean, it wasn't just America, because it wasn't just Americans who were killed in that. And it was so tragic. But at the same time, your heart. So not only the country all pulling together, regardless of beliefs or religions or color, it didn't frickin' matter, but the entire globe was united, not just to the grief, but in stomping and planting our feet and saying, oh hell no, dude, oh hell no. And within 2 days they had, I think there was only like the one or type that they couldn't get enough of, but the rarer, but within 2 days they had blood literally flowing across this country and being flown in. Now, two of the things that a lot of people probably haven't heard about, and within a day or so, these stories started coming out. Not just what happened on the hijacked on 93, when that went down in the Pennsylvania field, when they brought it down because the passengers couldn't overtake the hijackers, so they just took everybody down to prevent them from succeeding. Which breaks my heart every time. Have you heard about the plane that went into part of the Pentagon? Then I heard about, if you haven't heard about Operation Boat Lift, check that out on YouTube here. 1 second. Gotta wet my eyes. So you gotta remember, this didn't just affect like one borough. New York City is like 5 boroughs. And remember, we're on a coast. If you look at a closer picture of the New Jersey coast, it's all like in out of the land. And so there's more coastline than it looks, because it's not straight across. It's in and out and in and out. And some of those boroughs, same thing with New York, any of the coastlines. And so there were people, it wasn't just where ground zero was. You had all those dust clouds and all this collapse, and one thing collapsing, making other things collapse, and all the pile up and traffic. And just, I mean, we saw pictures. You saw it. And some of them ran and they got to the water. And, the toxic clouds and shit, they go a long way. So, Operation Boat Lift, they, hold on. So they only have so many ferries. You can only run them so fast, and before you can go back and get more and shit. So they weren't going to be able to keep up with the amount of people that were like gathering at the edges where they were getting like I mean, come on. A couple people knew somebody, they had a boat or something, and they get them. And then some of the the whale watching kind of boat, things and stuff like that go out, or just charter. A lot of those places were taking their boats, and that's what it was, Operation Boat Lift. Anybody that had a vessel that could carry any amount of people, gas that sucker up, get the hell out there to that shore, to those dock areas. Get out there, and it matter who you get up there, people get in until they have the limit. You don't want to sink. Get their asses over to the other side and go back for some more. A lot of it wasn't just ferry personnel. It was private boat owners, private companies that had boats, ships, whatever. And, yeah. There's plenty of channels that have done Operation Boat Lift stories. And they worked, hours and hours and hours, and trip and return trip and trip and return trip and trip and return trip over and over until no more were needed to be evacuated. While that was going on, our upstairs neighbors, Canada, the UDA, Gander, Newfoundland, Canada. Now, shortly after the planes were identified as being hijacked, like I said, we were in Tucson, we thought the same thing. They, of course, ordered all U.S. flights, all flights over America, be grounded immediately to the nearest, contact the nearest port, nearest place you can set it down, and air traffic control, they needed to get everybody down, not just commercial flights, everybody down. Well, there was a flight up by Canada, North America, and it had more than just Americans on it. I don't know, was it 700? I don't know. There was like two planes, I think it was, two, three maybe. Uh, this story would be Gander, Newfoundland, Canada, or Gander, Canada. Um, would be the title, Gander. That story is amazing. So they grounded these planes. Gander, Newfoundland, Canada is not a very big town. I mean, as many people that was on the planes is how many people are in the town. Almost. I mean, literally, it's not a very big town in Canada. And when they found out they were place to the closest place that these planes had to get out of the air. A little old town. They took people from those planes, and remember, it was a few days where people weren't flying. Nothing was being, because they needed so much. The phone calls, it was hard to get through for days because and the traffic and everything, because you've got all these rescue people, rescue animals, all these firefighters, all these influx going from different parts of the country to get there. You've got blood trying to get there. You've got medical. I mean, you've got so much that was trying to get in to give help. There was no. You couldn't have passenger flights, and you just we needed to keep track of shit. Unless only absolutely necessary. For a few days was being done. Phone calls, because people were trying to hook up. I mean, blood supplies and couriers and this and that and transportation and just talking to your family and stuff was kind of clogging lines. And nobody boycotted and picketed. We got it. Okay, we got it. Nobody made ridiculousness snowflake shit. But, and we're trying to not necessarily hide it from our younger children, all of us parents, but we're trying to, how do you explain bad people killed, whole building fulls of people? That's gonna terrify a child no matter how you put it, and if you don't, you're gonna overhear it at a friend's house when their parents are watching the news or see it on something. I mean, come on. You can, even back then you couldn't keep young kids isolated forever, okay? Maybe those first few days because the country was trying to, get it keeled down, get ready, set your shit back up because we were just reeling. And, it was just a wild, like I said, this is pretty abbreviated. I didn't go into a lot of the fears, and the thing is, I did that website and I caught up with news that I couldn't once my kid was physically at home with me, out of school or the 4 days he was with me during the week. But you need to keep up too. So it's like once it was asleep, it's like till 4 in the morning. I'd get a couple hours sleep. Hey, big guy, because it was my way of doing something, and remembering every single person. I would obsess if I didn't. That's where I learned to do HTML, and a little bit of formatting. Nothing major. They had the website builders, but to do the advanced stuff, you still had to know a little bit of stuff. So, got some of the effects and stuff like that, like of rippling water, that kind of stuff too. So I learned a little bit of that stuff because I wanted to do those people right by it. I'm petting my kitty. He's down. If I don't pet him, he'll take his claw and poke me in the leg. I'm almost done anyway, but yeah, that's I wouldn't say a quick recounting of that day, um, but it definitely is a partial recounting because if I had included all the thoughts and all the visceral images I came across looking to do my website, I literally had dozens and dozens and dozens of pages. Dozens. If you didn't have fast internet, it took about a minute for the entire page to load because it was graphic heavy. But in hindsight, it was me working out some of that shock, some of that stunned grief. Um, there were times I would catch myself either reading the news on the computer or watching the TV, where I would literally find myself with my mouth hanging open, and I'd have to be like, I'm literally got my mouth agape listening to this, and I'd have to think, close your mouth, literally, because I'd be like, and that's they make some updates, some shocking thing, and I'd be like, what? What? The fuck? What? Yeah. It was like that for several days until we got the fuller picture and all the dots were connected. Plane A, plane B, Tower A, Tower B, planet or plane A, plane B, plane C. You know, possible trajectory routes. Target, the whole thing. And we found out how many people from the different countries died on our soil. Because that wasn't just an attack on America. Because they chose buildings as the first targets that had people of all countries in them. And for some reason, that still bothers me today that so many people didn't even get to be in their own country. It's just, where their family is. I mean, it's hard enough to get, if you're across country and something happened, it's hard enough to get there, but you're in a whole different continent, And that really, all these decades, it still has not left me. How extra tragic it all was. So, yeah. That was my condensed version of the way my day was on September 11th, 2001. It's not a complete picture of my entire day by any means. And right now, I'm kind of reliving some of those feelings uh, that I had that day and the next few subsequent days. It was a lot of WTF, verbally and expression wise. And yeah, it's crazy shit, you know? It's just crazy shit. And I'd like to hear some other people's stories, even like me who wasn't necessarily even near the place at the time. Because we've heard a lot of those stories, a lot of them, and I'm sure we haven't heard a lot of them too. But yeah, I'm really curious how it affected them if they were in this country but just not in that area, or if you were in another country or whatever. Yeah, I'm really curious on those comments. So yeah, I'm gonna go do something happy or like play with my kitty cats because yeah, it's kind of funked up today. Not the day, the moment. So maybe I'll go make some tea or some coffee and use my really cool spoons. They look like little shovels, right? Yeah. I gotta go make myself some food. I haven't even eaten yet. It's like, oh, middle of the afternoon. Or, yeah, it's almost 3 o'clock. I should probably get something to eat. Gonna go make a salad. Ooh, with some shredded chicken. Yeah. Anyway, yes, so yeah, let me know down in the comments, or show me if you have a video of you talking about it. Hey, Mr. Pants. Ooh, you want some chicken? You want some chicken? Alrighty, peace out, guys.